Wait a minute, didn't we just have a Disney Investor Day? Well, allow me to explain. I love that we're learning so much, even more so about the workings of Hollywood. Now, from the investment perspective. So 4 times a year, Disney has a quarterly report where they interact with reporters to give an update on how the company is performing. And then those reporters will decide if they feel that, the Disney stock is something that they're going to tell investors to either to invest further in, or maybe they should wait. Or it's, in some cases, rarely for Disney, but if they should sell. But this was a shareholders meeting, and this happens once a year. And this is where the company talks directly to their shareholders, which are copious. Anyone who's bought someone else or themselves, just even one Disney stock, I'm not sure actually if there's a threshold for what it takes to participate, but you can dial in and ask a question, as some people did. It added a very interesting flavor to the call. Some people were quite laudatory, and some people were not. We're going to talk about the different, well, particularly the bad ones. But I do want to say that it was quite touching to see so many of the investors talk about how much the Disney company enriched their lives, from a brand to expanding their horizons. One gentleman talked about how much Hamilton meant to him, which I thought was really wonderful. I wish we could see the investors too, but that was really sweet. And then also another woman talked about how she hoped to have a career in Disney, and that she was wondering if, because of the pandemic, the college program has been suspended. If you don't know about the Disney College program, this is a phenomenal program. It counts as a semester of your school. You get to live on the Disney property at the Disney World Resort. You work in different positions in front of and behind the scenes at the theme park, and you learn business. And they also teach you classes. And this often leads to actual jobs within the Disney empire. And so this woman pointed out that not only would she miss the experience of doing the semester at Disney, but it would hurt her ability to maybe get into the company professionally. So she asked if maybe they would make an exception for people who missed out on that because of the pandemic. And Bob Chapek said that was a great point, because it was, and that he was going to look into that, damn it. And I thought that was really wonderful. So that was really great. And then also some of them talked about Bob Iger. They had some very nice things to say about Bob Iger. So we're going to go into all the headlines right now with, of course, a little bit of the color commentary, right? All right. So from myself and from the Disney investors. If you're interested in investing, I think it's something, if you really like the business of Hollywood, don't invest a lot. Always invest what you can afford to lose. But I think if you're really into this stuff, if you're watching a video about the Disney shareholder report, then maybe you might want to buy a couple of shares and just see what it's all. Let's see what everyone's talking about. But be responsible. All right. So anyway, Bob Iger, beginning of the call, hopped on and he said he's very, he had a great run. But this is it, as promised. This is his last year at Disney. For reals, and his last day will be December 31st, 2021. And since this is an annual thing, the shareholders call, this would be his last shareholders, his last chance to interact with the shareholders. He didn't actually interact with them at all, but to talk to them. And it was really lovely. I thought, Bob Iger has a really nice Disney voice. And I have to say, to his credit, so does Bob Chapek. He could be the monorail. Well, no, nobody could be as good as the monorail announcement voice. But Bob Chapek has a nice Disney-esque voice. But so many people, when they spoke up at the beginning of their questions at the Q&A section, thanked Bob Iger for his leadership and how he's made the company the behemoth that it is today. And I thought that was really nice to get. I'm sure Bob Iger appreciated that recognition. And hey, he's made them a heck of a lot of money. But so has Chapek. Disney stock is now at an all-time high. It dipped a little bit in the last day or so, but this week, for the first time ever, it crossed $200 a share. And that's during a pandemic, but everyone's excited, especially Wall Street, because it looks like the Disney empire will soon once again be fully operational. So to that point, Chapek revealed that the French Pavilion expansion at Epcot, they were supposed to do a lot of expansion in the Disney World Resort, because, Universal is really lighting a fire under them competition-wise. And of course, Epic Universe has now started construction in earnest, itself delayed because of the pandemic. The theme park wars, who wins? We do. But a lot of the things that were supposed to be ready for the 50th anniversary, which starts October 1st, have been delayed because of the pandemic, like the Tron roller coaster. A lot of these are attractions that are being brought over from overseas. Usually we get stuff first, but as Hollywood becomes more of a global business, we're getting stuff second. So on that note, the Ratatouille ride, which I actually rode in Disneyland Paris, it's fantastic. That will be one thing that will be ready for the 50th anniversary, and so it got an official opening date of October 1st. Right now, only the restroom section of that expansion is open, but also that will include a new crepe restaurant. I am such a Disney fan. I'm very excited about this. I'm not quite sure when I'll be able to go back, but this is fantastic. So the restaurant will open, and there's also a quick service takeaway option for the creperie as well. So that will all be running October 1st. Disneyland is on track to finally reopen in late April. California has said theme parks can open as early as April 1st, but Chapek said it's going to take us a little bit of time to get up and running. So late April is when he's currently planning for Disneyland to reopen. And Avengers Campus will be open there by the end of the year. This is very exciting. And there will be rules like you have to be a local to attend the park when it first opens. I think it's only going to open at like 15%. But most of the people who go to Disneyland are locals, whereas Disney World is much more of a tourist destination. I think California wants to limit tourist travel, which I think also makes sense. But in the meantime, Disneyland is having ticketed events where you just walk around and shop and eat, so you spend more money once you get in, although the ticketed event does include a money credit good towards those purchases. But that sold out. It sold out so fast. I think it's like a taste of Disney, although I would want to go to that if I wasn't so worried about COVID. But also, they extended the event by extra weeks because there was such demand. So, and then the parks, even in Florida, are packed. Now, you might be like, why is everyone okay going to a theme park, but not the movie theaters? Well, I feel, and I'd be curious for those of you who actually are going to the theme parks, what you feel the distinction is, or if you feel there isn't one. But I feel theme parks are outside, you're moving around a lot, whereas a movie theater, you're seated in one space in a closed room for a substantial amount of time. Also, when you're in a theme park, you can see everybody around you, and if someone doesn't have a mask on, you can walk away and shoot them an angry look. But in a movie theater, it's dark, people are behind you, you don't know really what's going on. And I think people at this point feel people in movie theaters are pretty poorly behaved. Although, to hear some of the reports, people are pretty poorly behaved at the theme parks as well, unfortunately. Everybody, be nice, god damn it. All right, so anyway, Disney cruises are set to resume fall 2021, and Disney Plus, despite a supposed boycott when Gina Carano was fired, we'll talk about that in a moment because it was brought up, they have surged past 100 million subscribers in a little over a year. That's incredible. They're already halfway to Netflix's current 200 million global subscribers. Netflix has got to be sweating. Boy, but there's room for two behemoths. I think the real problem is for all the other streaming services, quite frankly. I think you've got Coke and Pepsi, and who knows what other soft drinks there are out there. All right, so anyway, in fact, Chapek might have overstepped a bit when he said this, but I thought it was funny that he did. He said it was time for America to come together, for the conservatives and the liberals to unite, and that Disney Magic would be the one to do it. I'm like, wow. Although I have to say, Disney, I think, is like one of the few things that both groups really love. So I guess if anyone can do it, it's Tinkerbell. All right, so I think Tinkerbell does it a lot by staying out of it. So on that note, all right, this was hilarious. So two conservative shareholders, or a shareholder gave the microphone, the phone to their friend, but two conservative Star Wars fans got on the air, right? And they asked two very aggressive questions. Although to their credit, they were polite. Nobody was mean. So one asked why Gina Carano was fired for her political tweets while Pedro Pascal was not. They felt that there was a difference in how those two individuals were treated based on their what side they were on. And then also another asked when Kathleen Kennedy would be fired. As expected, Bob Chapek sidestepped both questions. But what was a pleasant surprise was how slick he was. His PR training is excellent. That's hard to do. There was a little bit of a pause where he composed himself after being like, oh crap. But, I wouldn't take too much stock in what he said. He said, we're very happy with Kathleen Kennedy. And some of you were like, damn it, she's never leaving. Bob Chapek is not going to say anything on a shareholder call in that regard. He's going to toe the company line and say everything. I mean, he wants shareholders to feel they have confidence in the company. So, obviously not that one in particular because they want Kathleen Kennedy gone, but he's going to be like, everything's dandy over here. Don't worry about it. So, of course, that's what he's going to say. And that's what he should say. That's the way the game is played. Then finally, the news everyone was on pins and needles for. What's going on with Black Widow? And so far, Bob Chapek says it's still on track to open May 7th and only in theaters. What? Now, yes, we're getting close, but I still think there's time for Chapek to decide what to do with this title. He's playing chicken with it, but it's not game over just yet. And he also even stated during this call that Disney realizes that moviegoers enjoy having a choice as to where to see their Disney movies. So he's laying the groundwork for at least other films to be a day and date split in terms of their release. I believe the point of no return for Black Widow re-release strategy would be mid-April. And I agree with many of you that Disney will look to see how Warner Brothers' Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat do in theaters, domestic and overseas, where it's even more complicated. And don't forget that Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat have a digital option as well. Now, and of course, Tom and Jerry smoked Raya at the box office. So I think that they're going to watch Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat very closely. And of course, Black Widow could stay theaters only, but just move at the last minute, mid-April, to Shang-Chi's release date of July 9th. And I think that if they want to keep it theaters only, that's what they should do. I don't think it can open May 7th as theaters only. Biden has said that every adult in the United States who wants a vaccine can get one by May. But remember, it takes about 2 months to totally go through the vaccination process. Not if you get the Johnson & Johnson, which is a single shot, but because of the way that Johnson & Johnson has been covered, a lot of people don't want that vaccine. So for the most part, it's a 2-month process. So that means July, if the vaccinations for most people start in May, is a safer date. It's a safer bet. And also overseas is opening up slowly. And so the UK isn't even going to come back online until after Black Widow is supposed to open, May 17th. So I feel the May 7th theaters only date is a risk. Whereas the July 9th theaters only date, I think, is a much safer choice. And also, this is a Marvel movie. I think fans will be absolutely livid if they can't see the film when it opens because they'll have to deal with avoiding spoilers, etc. So if it stays on May 7th, I don't see that being theaters only. I just don't see how that can happen. So, but we'll see. All right, so that's the latest on the Disney Empire. I'm curious to hear your own thoughts down below. Subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.